wife had asked me to make a Tardis jewelry box for a friend who is a Doctor Who fan. Come across the file on Thingiverse, so she asked me to make that happen. Ordered this blue PetG and decided on PetG because the there's small parts for the hinges and for the slides on the drawers. So, and I thought that in the drawers there's some thin areas on it, and I thought that that would keep it, like this stuff here is fairly thin, and the slides that the drawers fit into are fairly thin. So I thought that PetG would hold up a little better. It probably would be all right with PLA. Now that it's made, and I'm seeing it, it'd probably be all right with PLA, as long as somebody didn't beat on it. But uh, I did wonder whether or not it would hold up with the little, just the itty bitty pegs that fit in the holes for these doors to make them work. So PetG was chosen, and I've had success with PetG in the past, but I am well aware that it doesn't always make the cleanest prints. Sometimes they come out a little stringy. They come out, the PLA come out near perfect uh, whenever I print them. PetG usually has a few flaws in them, and it usually has a few flaws where the supports and things like that are. It's hard to clean the supports off. So uh, if you're gonna make something decorative, PLA is uh, generally preferable, but this was supposed to have a function, so that was the idea behind PetG. So I ordered this PetG, and I've had success with it before. So, I set the recipe up and put it in there, and I continually printed bad prints. I mean, you can see how stringy this looks. Look at this thing here. I believe this was the first one that it made. Look how rough and disturbing that is right there. Look how rough that is. See how that was coming out? Look at that thing, right? And it was making lots of these little bunny turd things. They were lots of these little cloggy bunny turd things, and they were all over the place. They're stuck in this. I got them. They're coming off of this. I've actually got this on this red thing here, so I can keep the trash from getting all over the place because it was dropping little bunny turds and giblets everywhere. So I went through a series of recipe changes, and uh, I had the idea that the nozzle temp might be too low, or the print speed might be too high. So, and I had that idea because of this stringiness that you see here. It didn't melt the string very well, and it didn't lay it out very well. So you can see that there's some lines there, some stringiness, and the fact that it was balling up into these little bunny turds here told me that it wasn't able to lay it down properly. So it wasn't coming out of the nozzle. So I thought properly. I thought maybe, or possibly a clog, something that wasn't causing the flow to flow properly. But so I made changes to the recipe, and I was taking off a little bit of time, a little, yeah, a little. I was adding time basically to the print by taking off a little bit of the speed, and I added a little bit of temperature to the nozzle, and I wasn't getting anywhere, not getting anywhere, not getting anywhere. So I had live broadcast this process. I just happened to decide I was going to live broadcast a little bit so I could on YouTube, so that I could watch the print progress from wherever I was hanging out at, and I had a lot of 3D printers, fellows who do the 3D printing, gals who do 3D printing, uh, helping with tips. So that was kind of nice. And after messing with this for probably, I don't know, maybe it was probably a good half a day throwing prints in there and trying and failing them. Uh, uh, one of the commenters said something that made me think. Uh, maybe I go read the instructions real quick. So, one of the commenters asked me, why I haven't gone back to the default settings because I had made so many changes at some point. And he's like, at some point you just got to go back to the default settings. And I was like, you're right about that. At this point, I am way off of what was successful in the past. So I worked out the default settings, set it up, rehomed the machine, and I threw a benchy through. And I threw a benchy through with this line here. It's a Molin is the brand, and I've made successful prints with this stuff in the past. So I knew that once the default was set back up again, this should print. And lo and behold, I got a good benchmark. So then I thought, well, what's the difference between these two strings? Now that I got my default back, now that I got a good print, what's the difference? And I looked at the oops, I looked at the Polymaker string. All right, so here's the blue line for that made that Tardis, and I read the instructions, and the print speed on this is 30 to 50 millimeters per second, and the fan is supposed to be off, and the default settings on my machine were 100 millimeters per second with the fan on. So the instructions on this one say 30 to 600 millimeters per second with the fan on. So with the Molin, it was within the default range of my machine, so it works nice. It works well, no problems. But I was outside the manufacturer's instructions. It just never crossed my mind because this is not the only PetG that I've used in the past, and the default settings have always worked. So printer problems, 3D printer problems. Um, Sometimes reading the instructions is all it really takes.